You are that bad, and it is your fault. Okay. So the very first thing that we have to do before we move on to the rest of the presentation tonight is just let it rest in our spirit that we are that bad and it is our fault. Period. Do we got it? Okay. Because I can't move on unless I address your beliefs first. If I give you a strategy, I have to make sure I've elevated your consciousness first. Super important. Okay, so you are that bad if you're anything less than optimal. If you scored anything less than 100 on the optimal health assessment, you are that bad. Optimal is available to you, and that's what we're striving for, not good enough. Don't let your good be the enemy of your great, right? Don't let good be the enemy of your great. Okay, here we go. Let's get into it.
Optimal health is not a privilege, it's a right. However, unfortunately, the overwhelming majority of health challenges today can be attributed to lifestyle. This includes our physical activity, the quality of our relationships, stress, purpose and fulfillment, and of course, our diet. But what if there was an alternative? What if we could prevent and combat these health challenges with lifestyle changes before pills and procedures? You are listening to the Plant Protocol podcast with yours truly, plant-based health and business coach, and now the forever voice in your head, Lisa A. Smith. It's time to come get this health. Hey, it's Coach Lisa. Welcome back to the podcast. The episode you're about to hear is our final installment in our stress series. So for the last several episodes, I've been sharing with you some conversations I've had with colleagues and friends, and today is no different. Today, I actually want to share a replay of a masterclass I did about chronic stress. And the reason I want to share this episode as the final episode in our stress series is because if you love science or love understanding how things work, you're going to really enjoy this episode, because in this masterclass, I teach the biological mechanism for how stress can lead to disease in our body and our minds. So if you've been listening to me for a while now talk about the dangers of chronic stress and the fact that chronic stress kills, but want to better understand how exactly that could happen, this episode is for you. So this is a replay of a masterclass that I did talking about the biological mechanisms of stress. And in this episode, in this class, I also share 2 limiting beliefs that may be leading to your stress and overwhelm. So please enjoy.
Let's get into it. So this interview with ET is going to be a continuation of that tonight. If you don't know me, I'm Lisa A. Smith, plant-based health and business coach. I have been in business running my own coaching company for next year to be 10 years. Next year to be 10 years that I've been doing this work, y'all. And I absolutely love what I do. I am living as a whole food, plant-based vegan. I've lost over 60 pounds. I've maintained it with a vegan lifestyle. And I am a recipient of everything that I teach. So like combating chronic stress, getting over sugar addiction, getting rid of all the processed junk food and fast food, being obese, and then losing weight, optimizing my health, and then finally living a life of radical obedience. So I have started a couple of coaching programs, 3 to be exact. The first one is Farm to Table, plant-based coaching program. That's been around since 2016. Then I launched the Plant Protocol Business Accelerator, which is the first plant-based coaching certification and business accelerator to be founded by a person of color. Shout out to Black History. And finally, my mastermind, Clarity, a plant-based mastermind for women of color who are suffering from imposter syndrome. So that is what I do. Let's get into it. So here's what I need to know for you guys. We're about to go into the prerequisite, right? So the prerequisite for tonight's conversation is where we talk about some limiting beliefs. But before we do that, I need to know, what are you challenged with? What chronic health challenge do you need to combat as a result of tonight's information? What are you going to apply tonight's information to? Is it high blood pressure? Is it being overweight or obese? Is it a food addiction? Is it high cholesterol? Is it kidney failure? Is it fatty liver disease? Is it an autoimmune condition? Is it painful periods? Is it reproductive health? Is somebody here trying to get pregnant? Like, let me know. Is it depression? Is it anxiety? Is it some type of mood disorder? Let me know. Is it cancer? So I would love to know, what health challenges are we working on? fatty liver disease and diabetes, high blood pressure and chronic stress, food addiction, high blood pressure, hypertension, obesity, stress, and anxiety. Anxiety, that's such a good one. Staying cancer free, active breast cancer. Okay. So we have like big reasons to listen up tonight. And so I need you guys to lean into this conversation so I can make sure that I touch every single one of you guys in the way that you need to be touched, right? So I always like to start off with beliefs and mindset because I've been speaking and teaching for a long time. And what I realized after several presentations is that telling people what to do is cool. But if you don't first tell them who they need to become, it's hard to get them to do what they need to do. And so here are two limiting beliefs that typically prevent people from achieving their health goals, y'all. The first one is, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. Now, if you have comparisonitis, right, where you might look to your left and look to your right, you might look at your friend circle, you compare yourself to people online, on TV, to your social circle, and you say, I need to lose some weight, but I'm not that bad, right? I do need to get off this medication, but I'm only on one. I'm not that bad. So if this is you, if you have ever said, I'm not that bad, go ahead and admit it tonight. Right? Have you ever let yourself off the hook? You were supposed to work out that week, but you on vacation. It's your birthday. It's the holiday. And you say, you know what? I got work to do. Maybe I've already lost 25 pounds. Only got a few more to go. I can let my foot off the gas because I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. So the first limiting belief that I need you to evict is I'm not that bad. Okay. Anything less than optimal is that bad. Let me say it again for him, Key. Anything less than optimal is that bad. If you're not the best version of yourself, you're not where you need to be, then I need you to take I'm not that bad out of your vocabulary. I am officially taking I'm not that bad out of my vocabulary. Lisa, I'm less than optimal. It turns out I'm that bad. Okay. I have to take a multivitamin because I can't will myself to eat my fruits and vegetables. You that bad. Cause now we got a self-control problem. Now we got a discipline problem. Now we got I know better, but I don't do better problem. Right. So we're no longer saying I'm not that bad. Okay. That's the first limiting belief. I got a couple fairs. All right. Number two, y'all ready for the second limiting belief? Here's the second thing I need you to take out of your vocabulary. All right. It's not my fault. Now, here's the pop quiz. Whose fault is it? What do you guys usually say? Why are you overweight? Why are you hypertensive? Why are you diabetic? What do we typically blame it on, y'all? Because we're going to be honest tonight. What do we typically blame it on? What do we say? Whose fault is it? Yeah. Doreen nailed it. Ding, ding, ding. It's my family's fault. They gave it to me. Right? They did it. It's my genes. Wendy said work. Yeah, they keep on bringing this free food. Lisa, how I'm supposed to turn down free food? Groceries is high, right? Absolutely. Melissa said, I blame sugar. It's the greatest thing in the world. Right? So it's not my fault. They make it too accessible. It's everywhere. It's my DNA. It runs in my family. It's my husband. He won't stop bringing this mess home. Well, we got to have dinner. We got to go to our favorite steak place every Friday night. It's traditionally, so we got to have mac and cheese on Christmas. How are we going to have Christmas without my grandma's mac and cheese? It's not my fault, right? I got to keep adhering to these traditions, to these rituals, to the rhetoric that tells me I'm not that bad because it runs in my family. So here's the truth. Somebody write this down in big bold letters on their notepad and put it on their mirror in the morning. The truth is, yes, you are. And yes, it is. You are that bad and it is your fault. Okay. So the very first thing that we have to do before we move on to the rest of the presentation tonight is just let it rest in our spirit that we are that bad and it is our fault. Period. Do we got it? Okay. Because I can't move on unless I address your beliefs first. If I give you a strategy, I have to make sure I've elevated your consciousness first. Super important. Okay. So you are that bad if you're anything less than optimal. If you scored anything less than 100 on the optimal health assessment, you are that bad. Optimal is available to you, and that's what we're striving for. Not good enough. Don't let your good be the enemy of your great, right? Don't let good be the enemy of your great. Okay, here we go. Let's get into it. We're going to start off with chronic stress, part 1. Let's review a little bit from my conversation with ET. There are 2 types of stress. There is acute stress, which is short term, typically time bound. Oh, this project is going to last 3 months, right? There's a clear solution for it. Like, okay, soon as this thing wraps up, I'm done with this stressful situation. It's ideally purposeful and or meaningful. So right now I'm creating a curriculum for a brand new program for a company. It's slight acute stress because I want it to be good, right? I want it to be high performing. I want to impress the people that I'm creating it for. And so it's a slightly stressful project, but it's acute stress. But most importantly, it's purposeful and meaningful. So stress is a natural part of life, but we want all of our stress, like 100% of our stress, we want it to be acute. Okay. Now, the second type of stress, which we're going to talk about tonight in more detail, is chronic stress. Chronic stress is long-term. It's usually 3 months or longer. Solution is unclear and is typically not tied to purpose or meaning. So even if it's your acute stress is longer than 3 months, if it's meaningful and purposeful, that's okay. Especially if it's time bound. Okay, Lisa, I got this project or this book I'm going to be writing for the next year. It might be a little stressful writing a book. I know it is for me. I'm in the process of writing my first book and I'm like, God bless the people who write more than one book. You guys are like superheroes, right? So it's kind of stressful for me, but it's so meaningful and purposeful that even though it causes me some acute stress, it's okay. Right. So the type of stress we want to eliminate is chronic. That's the kind that kills you. Right. So let's talk about types of chronic stress, because acute stress is to be expected. Chronic stress should be avoided at all costs. Types of chronic stress. Number one, physical stress. Right. You might break a bone, get into a car accident, have his stomach pains, physical stress. Then we have chemical stress. Right. So this might be from substances, alcohol, or it can even come from food, maybe food poisoning or nutritional deficiencies can cause stress on the body. Okay, so chemical stress. But the one that we're usually referring to when we talk about stress is emotional stress. That's the one that takes us out the game. That's the one that caused my friend's spleen to erupt. Okay, emotional stress. And so the majority of our stress today is emotional, i.e. it starts and resides in our thoughts. So look at this super cool quote by Eckhart Tolle. So I read this book a while ago called Extract from New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. The excerpt is called The Birth of Emotion, but the name of the book is A New Earth. And so I'm going to read this very slowly because I want you guys to understand how stress compromises our health. Eckhart says, although the body is very intelligent, it cannot tell the difference between an actual situation and a thought. It reacts to every thought as if it were a reality. It doesn't know it is just a thought. To the body, a worrisome, fearful thought means I am in danger, and it responds accordingly, even though you may be lying in a warm, comfortable bed at night. The heart beats faster, muscles contract, breathing becomes rapid. There's a buildup of energy, but since the danger is only a mental fiction, the energy has no outlet. Part of it is fed back to the mind and generates even more anxious thought. The rest of the energy turns toxic and interferes with the harmonious functioning of the body. This is what happens when we have overwhelmingly worrisome thoughts that are constantly plaguing our mind on replay over and over and causing a physiological response. The body doesn't know that we're just lying in bed or driving down the road thinking about this thing. So it's responding as if it's in physical danger. Now imagine you are chronically stressed out. So this is happening day in, day out as those levels of cortisol and adrenaline stay elevated. This is how we compromise our physical health, by being chronically stressed from the thoughts that we're thinking. If this makes sense, if you've had this experience where you can physically feel your body reacting to thoughts that you're thinking, I'll need you guys to understand that it is a health risk to be chronically stressed. Okay, so let's keep going. Here's the physiological impact of stress. I'm going to break it down even deeper, okay? You have first restricted blood flow because your body thinks you need to run. So your body restricts blood flow to the center of the body and pushes the blood out to your limbs so that you can run. So now our gut health is compromised because we don't have as much blood flow there. Then that means we have compromised immunity because over 60% of our immune system resides in our gut, y'all. So if you're chronically stressed, Your immune system is compromised and you're more susceptible to illness. Number 3, increased risk of disease. Because again, elevated levels of cortisol and adrenaline means compromised immunity. And so our lives, when we look around, we have to understand is a physical manifestation of what's happening in our minds. Behavior follows belief. So everything that you're believing, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, your behavior follows. So everything, if you're thinking, my life sucks, this job sucks, or if you're thinking I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm insecure about this, your behavior follows your beliefs. Whether your beliefs are conscious or subconscious, your behavior follows it, whereby your life becomes a physical manifestation of what's happening in your mind. Everything starts with your thoughts. So let's go a little deeper. Let me show you how this physical stress turns into disease, and then I'm going to show you how to create an exit strategy. Sound good? Okay, here it is. Here's what happens, y'all. Let's follow me now. Look at these steps. First, a thought occurs in the mind. Now, I know for a fact from being a coach almost a decade that most people's number one stressor is work, right? There's something about their profession that they're not satisfied. A lot of people, unfortunately, are unfulfilled in their lives and unfulfilled in their contribution to society. Okay. And so the example I'm going to use here is work. So here's the thought that occurs in your mind. I hate this job. I don't want to go back tomorrow. It makes me miserable. Okay. So that's the thought. Now, so far, we're not in danger. Our body is fine. But here's what happens immediately after a thought. It triggers an emotion. That emotion can be anger, resentment, sadness, fear, overwhelm, anxiety, angst. We have the thought. It triggers an emotion. That emotion triggers a physical reaction because emotions manifest on a cellular level in our body, y'all. And so as soon as we feel the emotion, it typically triggers a physical reaction. So your heart might start racing, headaches, hives, shortness of breath, tight jaw, clenched brow, aches and pains, upset stomach, chronic fatigue, just feeling tired all the time. Emotions can do that to you. So the physical reaction then leads to stress hormones being elevated. Cortisol and adrenaline floods the body. The body reacts again by restricting blood flow and suppressing all systems in the body. Because if your body believes that you're in danger and you need to run, our immune system is not that important right now, right? Our digestive system is not that important. Our endocrine system is not that important right now. All we need to do is flee. But this chronic stress, this physiological reaction to danger is not supposed to last for 6 months. It's not supposed to last for 2 years. It's supposed to be a very temporary, short-lived system. And that's why acute stress is safe and chronic is deadly. So when cortisol and adrenaline floods the body, that then begins to cause cellular damage. If this is happening every day because you're staying at the job you hate with no exit strategy and you've been there a year, you're staying in a relationship that is unfulfilling and you don't know how to get out of it. If you're not talking to the people you love and it's really causing you anxiety, right? If you're not addressing your finances and that's stressing you out, if you're in spiritual warfare and that's stressing you out, if you have insecurities and it's stopping you from showing up on your assignment to God and that's stressing you out, it's going to cause the cortisol and the adrenaline to flood the body. And now we risk cellular damage. Now we're risking cellular damage. And that cellular damage causes the vibrational frequency of the body to decrease. And what happens is that the emotion determines the organ or system that's compromised. I'm going to show you an illustration in just a moment to show you what emotions are associated with each organ. So you'll understand when what you're feeling, what organ may be compromised. So the final step in this process, after the cellular damage happens, disease and illness. So after about 6 months, 8 months, a year and a half, 2 years of being chronically stressed and not really doing anything significant about it, maybe you've been managing it with your breathing techniques and trying to do meditation, but you're not really getting to the root of the problem. So it's not going away. Now we're at risk for heart disease, high blood pressure, weight gain, depression, joint pain, phantom aches and pains. Did anybody ever have some aches and pains and they don't went and got tested by the doctor and they can't tell you anything, but you know you don't feel right? I've had plenty of students like that in my Farm to Table course. They're like, Lisa, I have this thing going on with my foot. I have this thing going on with my back. I have this thing going on with my stomach. They've given me all the tests in the world, claim I don't have anything, but something is off, right? it could very much be emotion and chronic stress. So there's no diagnosis for it by healthcare standards, but you know you're not optimal. This could be emotions. So this is the process for how chronic stress can literally compromise your health, cause a premature death or premature disability. It's dangerous, y'all. So let's look at this illustration I was telling you about. What emotions impact which organs? So look at this, right? So remember I told you about my friend who his spleen spontaneously erupted a couple years ago, right here, worry and anxiety. And your spleen is connected to your immune system. Worry and anxiety can compromise your spleen. Hate and impatience can compromise the heart. Anger and frustration, the liver. Fear and fright, the kidneys. Sadness and depression, the lungs. Now, it's been a real downer for the last couple of slides. So let's go into some uppers. Here's the super good news. So remember I said that emotions manifest in our body on a cellular level. I didn't say negative emotions only though. So the good news here is that positive emotions also manifest in our body on a cellular level, which means that if negative emotions can hurt us, positive emotions can heal us. So look at this, y'all. Positive emotions, love and happiness heals the heart. Trust and openness heals the spleen. Courage and righteousness heals the lungs. Gentleness and tranquility, the kidneys. Kindness and generosity, the liver. Make sure you get it because I need you guys to understand how emotions impact the body because emotions come from thoughts. We have the thought, we have the emotion, and then that begins to flood the body in one way or the other. Does that make sense? So it just like it can go down, this thing can come up. You're going to leave here tonight like, got it. I know what I need to do. Exit strategy. I'm getting the heck out of this. I'm about to stop volunteering at this organization. I got over it years ago and I still felt obligated to keep going, but it doesn't make me happy anymore. It's not mutually beneficial, right? Anything that's not bringing you joy and is not meaningful and purposeful and allowing you to be self-actualized and optimizing your gifts and talents needs to be off of your calendar, period. It's okay. It's okay to choose yourself and it's okay to choose health. Okay, so let's talk about the brain for a second. So I want you guys to understand that all of this stress starts in our mind. How many of you guys know that stress is subjective, meaning the thing that you're calling chronically stressful, somebody else is dealing with the same thing and labeling it something different, and therefore it's impacting them differently. Did you guys know that? That the fact that you think something is stressful is not a universal belief. So I'll give you an example. When COVID hit, right, and we were not able to go outside anymore, we all had to go indoors, which means those of us who ran our business with in-person experiences had to figure out something different. So at that time, I was teaching my first Saturday class, and we were doing it once a month in downtown Detroit in person. I had people coming out. I would teach for 2 hours. We had a good time acting up. It was beautiful. But when COVID hit and we couldn't have our class in person anymore, I remember hearing my fellow entrepreneurs and colleagues like panic about their business because they couldn't have in-person classes. Then you had people like me and Coach Kiwi who just took our classes online and business as usual and kept the party going. They were stressed, worried about losing their business, worried about losing revenue, worried about going under, started looking for a job. And you had others of us who were like, yo, this is amazing because now I can reach people in California that I couldn't before. I should have been took my class online. What a great opportunity. Someone else, exact same situation. Oh my God, this is so stressful. What am I going to do? So everything is not universally stressful. And so as before we move forward, the first thing I'm going to challenge you to do is relabel your situation. Find the blessing and the gratitude in it. It's probably not as bad as you think. Yes, we still need an exit strategy. Yes, it's not ideal right now. But what if you started looking at your 9-to-5 as the first investor in your business? You know what? They pay me a paycheck every 2 weeks, and I've designated 10% of that pay to go towards my business. I'm so grateful for this job I hate. It becomes a little less stressful when you start changing your perspective. Okay. So the fact that you claim to be chronic stress can change right now in this moment just by having a different POV, a different point of view. Okay, so let's look at thoughts really quickly, right? So our brain is super cool. I love it. I've been studying the brain for the past couple of years. I'm semi-obsessed with it. And what we know to be true is that our thoughts are our perception of our circumstance. That's what I just broke down for you. Our thoughts and our beliefs are simply our perception of our circumstance. What if you ran what you thought was chronically stressful by somebody else? Like, what if you got a second opinion on your situation? Matter of fact, has anybody ever done that? Been complaining to somebody about something and they gave you a whole different perspective that made you change the way you looked at it? Like, you might have been complaining about your marriage, your job, your business, your friends, your weight, and they gave you a totally different perspective and you was like, huh. And in just that moment, you were like, well, I guess I'm over that. Has anyone, I know my best friend has done that to me, like real quick. She shut it down. I'd be like, you're right. I never looked at it like that. Oh, well, guess I'm not stressed about that no more. So truly, our thoughts are our perception of our circumstance. So my first piece of advice to you guys is get a second opinion. Just get a second opinion. Everything don't have to be like this 5-step recipe to getting whole. Sometimes it's like, you mean the whole time I could have just told somebody else this and I'd have been good? Just get a second opinion, okay? Because here's the thing about thoughts, y'all. We have about 80,000 thoughts a day, and over 90% of them are the same as the day before. The brain is a crazy piece of work, isn't it? We have over 80,000 thoughts a day, and over 90% of them are literally the same as the day before, right? Listen, you hear me? A good friend will shut you down so fast. You over there moping, woe is me. And they like, girl, shut up. You complain about cutting grass. You a homeowner at your young age, running your own business, got your dream loft. I'm telling you, my best friend shut me down so quick. Boy. So the same thoughts day in and day out. So what does that mean? What was the point of me telling you that? That means if you are chronically stressed, and you're in this negative thought loop, this negative thought pattern every single day, that means you're thinking the same negative thing over and over without any light at the end of the tunnel, no exit strategy attached to the thought. Just every day you're thinking about, I hate this place. I hate this job. I hate this man. I can't stand this woman. Like, well, get out. Like, if they don't make you happy, if it doesn't make you happy, and I don't care if it's something that seems like you're supposed to do. Like, if you're sick of volunteering at the church, step down. You don't have to keep doing it. Like, I don't care what it is. There should be no obligation to anything that makes you unwell, makes you uncomfortable, or the expiration date has come and gone. That job, that relationship, that role might have just been seasonal. It's okay to move on to something else, because what we sick of doing is hearing y'all complain. Ain't we? First of all, okay, so let's talk about combating chronic stress so we can get into food addiction, y'all, because usually food addiction comes from the chronic stress. How many of y'all are stress eaters? Let's just prelude part 2 of tonight's presentation. Okay, all right, I figured. So yeah, we just need to change our perception. And then I'm going to teach you guys how to combat chronic stress. So let's talk about how we should be approaching this thing. So here's what they tell us to do. Tell me if you've ever tried any one of these things: mindfulness, prayer, breathing, emotional intelligence, vacation or take time off, self-care. Has anybody tried any of those things to try and help the feelings you feel around the chronic stress? All of the above. Yes, all of it. Y'all, I'm going to tell you right now. If you hate your 9 to 5, if you're in spiritual warfare, if you have an overwhelming amount of financial stress, you ain't about to meditate your way out of it. You're not going to eat kale your way out of it. A vacation won't do. All of those things are ways we manage stress. We're not here to manage something that's killing us slowly. So I need us to shift our perspective around how we should be addressing chronic stress. All these things are good practices for daily practice. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, if you are unfulfilled in your 9 to 5 or unfulfilled in a business you started, you need an entire strategy to get out that thing. It ain't about, let me just pray every morning and then get in here and be miserable for 8 hours. Okay? I need you guys to do the hard work of figuring out a way on how to move on and move along and move into a new season. Chronic stress requires an exit and an inner strategy, not management. We ain't managing something that's killing us. We're getting rid of it. Okay. Just like we're not about to manage this diabetes. We're not about to manage our high blood pressure no more. We're getting rid of it. You don't manage something that's killing you slowly. You get rid of it. Okay. So chronic stress requires an exit strategy from the circumstance and an enter strategy into where you want to be, not management. Now, here's why we need an exit strategy and an enter strategy. You notice I said, and I told ET this on the podcast, guys, you have to exit from the thing you're in and enter into where you want to be. And those are not one and the same. Let's look at some examples. Exiting from debt is not the same as entering into financial abundance. You got that? You can pay off all your debt, but that doesn't mean you're automatically in financial. You need an enter strategy to be financially abundant, and you need an exit strategy to get out of debt. Look at number 2. Exiting from corporate is not the same as entering into entrepreneurship. Let's look at my favorite. Exiting from disease is not the same as entering into optimal health. We need a strategy for both sides. Most people, because we are usually in such a state of pain and suffering when it comes to debt, work, health, we're so focused on getting out of that situation that we never take time to plan on how to get into the situation we want to be into. Those are 2 separate strategies, okay? So that you don't go back. So here's the solution as we begin to wrap up part 1, okay? Here's the solution. The first thing we need to do to craft an exit strategy, I'm coming with the solutions tonight, y'all. The first thing we need to do to craft an exit strategy is ask ourselves, what do I need to do? There's 2 questions you must ask when you're crafting an exit strategy. There's 2 questions you must ask. And the first one is, what do I need to do? Okay. So what you need to do first off is clearly state the undesirable condition that you're in. Okay, I know I cannot stay in my job. I need to get out of this role, or I need to get out of this company. Maybe I can stay at the company, but I need a new position within the company. Be very specific. What is the direct source of your stress? The very direct source. That's the first step in creating an exit strategy. Write down the direct source. Step 2 is then you want to state your desirable condition. What do you specifically want? I no longer want to work at this company as an analyst. I will much prefer to write children's books for a living. Okay. So what is the undesirable condition and what is the desirable condition? Make sure y'all writing these down. This is the steps to your exit strategy. They're super simple, but I need you to do it. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is what are 3 action steps required to move me further from the undesirable and closer to the desirable. Now, these are action steps. These are not believe like, oh, I need to start believing in myself, or I need to be more confident, or I need to be more courageous. No. It's going to be more like, I need to start researching the process for writing a children's book. I need to find a community of authors to join. I need to draft my resignation letter to my job. So your action steps are action steps. You want to know why? Because exiting requires movement. Every action step should be a tangible activity. Number 1, clearly state the undesirable. It needs to be very specific. Step 2, state the desirable. Step 3, what are 3 tangible action steps? This is not like, oh, I need to start really showing up for myself better. Don't give me that frou-frou, fluff. No. I want the tangible things that need to happen that you haven't done. I need to apply for that position that they posted that I've been too afraid to do because I think I'm unqualified. Give me the tangible. Okay, so these are the first 3 steps in creating an exit strategy. We say, what do I need to do? And they have to be actionable steps. Let's keep it moving. The second part of creating an exit strategy is, what do I need to believe? Now we get into the thoughts and the mind. Okay, Wendy said, Lisa, why you in my business tonight? Because you registered for me to be in your business. I'm just doing what I was told. Okay, so what do I need to believe? Here it is. Okay. What belief is preventing me from taking the action steps that I just listed? I want you to answer this question for every action step. That means there should be 3 beliefs. If you know you need to draft a resignation letter, but you're too afraid because you've been at that job 15 years and you don't know who you would be without it, or you think you're going to be homeless the day you quit. Like, what belief is keeping you from doing the thing? You're just writing it down. Okay. So what belief is preventing me from taking step number 1? What belief is preventing me from taking step number 2? What belief is preventing me from taking step number 3? Okay. So what belief is attached to every action step? What limiting belief has prevented me from doing this thing? And guys, okay, listen, We need specificity. That means, it maybe your stress is in your relationship, in your marriage or something like that, right? And you and this person need to have a conversation. You need to be honest about some stuff, about you being unhappy or about y'all lack of communication or something they did to hurt your feelings that you ain't got over. So maybe one of your action steps is, I really need to reach out to this person and schedule time to have a conversation. And you haven't done that. Your reason for not doing it cannot be because I'm scared. I need you to specifically state what you're scared of. That's how specific I need you to be. Does that make sense? So when you list a belief that's preventing you from taking the action, I don't want it to be vague. Not just, I'm too scared. I'm nervous. I ain't made time. Don't, get deeper than that. Like really, really be honest with yourself throughout this exercise and really say why you haven't done the thing, right? I'm afraid they're going to not talk to me and that it's going to blow up. And then we're going to really say, I'm afraid this could bring divorce on the table. I'm afraid that I won't get the job and that I'm going to have to just stay where I am for another 10 years. Like, what are you afraid of? Okay. So it's really important. Here's why. It's on the screen because the beliefs that you list are the actual real problem, not your circumstance. Your job is not the problem. It's the beliefs that you have that's preventing you from leaving the job. That's the problem. You think your stress is the job. You think your stress is the person. You think your stress is the weight. It's not. It's the belief you have about getting healthy. That's the problem. Does that make sense? Your beliefs are simply untested hypotheses. So you thought the situation was the problem. But remember, I told you earlier, somebody is in the exact same situation as you and they ain't stressed at all because they're doing something about it or they have a different point of view about it. So it's not the circumstance that's the problem. It is your underlying belief about the circumstance that's the problem. So we have to get really specific on this step in the exit strategy because we have to identify the beliefs that's keeping us complacent and sedentary.
And scene. Wasn't that good? Well, if I do say so myself. I hope you really enjoyed this episode because I know for me, I like to geek out a little bit over the science. I like to learn the inner workings and the mechanisms for things. It just really helps me paint a picture mentally of why I'm making the choices I'm making. So for me and the way my brain works, and I know some of you, your brain works like this too, you like to know the why behind the why. And so I hope this episode helped you to better understand why chronic stress can be so dangerous to our overall well-being and our life expectancy. So this officially concludes our stress series here on the Plant Protocol podcast. And I promised you at the beginning of this series that I would make an offer for you to get some additional assistance with working through stress in your life. And so if you missed our masterclass on February 20th about chronic stress, here's your next opportunity to get the assistance you need and really start moving the needle. I want you to click the link in the show notes and apply for a private VIP session with me. During this session, it's going to be your opportunity to craft your exit strategy and your enter strategy one-on-one with yours truly. Now, I've been doing this work for quite some time. I've been studying stress, studying the mind, studying the body, studying lifestyle science. And I know for certain that one of the things that really helps us to feel better immediately, no matter how big the mountain is we need to climb, is actually sitting down and crafting out a plan for how we're going to change our circumstance. So even though your stress might be something that you know cannot be completely fixed overnight. You might be in mountains of financial debt, or it might be a relationship situation that's going to take some time to work out the kinks, or it might be your career and you need some time to pivot and move and make adjustments. I understand these changes don't happen overnight. However, it's been my experience, especially when I was healing from abandonment, and I remember getting into therapy. It's been my experience that just starting the process lifts some of the burden. And being a coach, like I said, for many years, I have seen this over and over again with our clients. So if you are ready to start lifting the burden, no matter how big the mountain is you have to climb, I would highly, highly recommend that you click the link in the show notes to apply for a private VIP session with yours truly. And let's begin to talk through and work through some of this together. Now, this is an offer only for my podcast listeners, so I'm not making this offer anywhere else. This is an opportunity for you to get a VIP day with myself. We'll come together one-on-one for a couple of hours and look at your situation, dissect it together, and start crafting that exit strategy and your enter strategy for where you really want to go. So I hope that gives you some relief that you don't have to just consume information and figure it all out on your own. Sometimes you need a listening ear, an experienced coach to help you decide on those very next steps. So your opportunity is in the show notes to do just that. Click on the link, fill out the very short application, and I look forward to reviewing it and hopefully working with you soon. You tuned in today because, like me, you refuse to let your good become the enemy of your great. You're not settling for good health when optimal is well within reach. If you're ready to go from good to great, visit lisaangelsmith.com to learn more about our plant-based health coaching program, Farm to Table, and our plant-based business accelerator and coaching certification. But before you go, if you enjoyed what you heard today, please consider rating and reviewing this podcast. Until next time, remember, radical obedience is still undefeated. Stay obedient.